A lovely Wednesday morning. I'm your host, Patrick Soko. As usual, on a Wednesday, I'm not alone. I'm with my co-host, Miriam Kaimba, and together we'll be with you to discuss various issues pertaining to governance, policy, and politics. And today, we have an interesting subject. We are looking at the Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprises, and this is a ministry that is among those that were formulated under the United Party for National Development, UPND, and we have to understand, is it firing in the right direction? We are going to be asking those because they are equally 2 years in implementation. For them, they are just a fully fledged new ministry, unlike others that have been there before. So for them, as we are having the 2 years anniversary of the UPND, them, they're equally clocking 2 years.
2 years,
so we have to assess, is it relevant? So we would like to tap into the perspective of SMEs in the country, and would want those especially involved in business to get in touch and get interacting with us on our breakfast show this morning, Miriam. And just we getting started, I cannot leave to the next segment before I ask about how you are feeling today. How positive are you, young lady?
Did you have to put the young lady there, Patrick?
Old
anyway,
lady.
It's a really?
I'm selecting the right words. It's like someone wants the other words.
Anyway, it's a positive Wednesday as usual, just like the way it was a positive Tuesday and a positive Monday. Again, we enter into a positive day of Wednesday, so that, you know, we maintain this positivity vibe that we have continued to carry along the way until the end of this week, so that, you know, some of the things that we have planned, some of the goals that we want to achieve, we can see them, you know, being targeted and being, you know, us achieving those goals. Because basically when you put a positive mind towards something, you ensure that, you know, you will have the right mindset to ensure that that goal is basically achieved at the end of the day. And anyway, just moving forward, like what you said, this morning we'll be looking at promoting SMEs competitiveness in Zambia, and we'll be joined by the Permanent Secretary from the Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprises. But right about now, we go direct into our health corner and just see what the doctors have for us this morning.
Good morning, viewers. I'm Dr. Mutinta Muyuni, gynecologist, and I'm continuing talking to you about the menstrual cycle. Today, we are going to look at self-care, what to do about our plumbing. I call it plumbing because that's my secret way of referring to the cycles. So, what to do then? How do we look after ourselves during the menstrual cycle? We talked yesterday about some disorders like lack of periods, frequent periods, heavy periods. But even just normal monthly periods require you to have an understanding of how to look after yourselves. Let's go from top to toe. Our emotions, mood swings during the menstrual cycle. Let's be cheerful, ladies. Let's be cheerful, girls. We know this cycle happens every month. So let's not snap at people. Let's try and contain everything, as long as we understand that the reason we are in this predicament is variation in the hormones. Going down, we may have breast pain. A good firm bra or support will help minimize the pain of the breasts. And even supplements like evening primrose oil will help ease the discomfort from the breast pain every month. What about things like period pains? We don't always have to use medicine. A hot water bottle, for example, take care, don't burn yourself, will apply to the stomach. A good hot bath will ease the cramping quite significantly. Where does the cramping come from? The uterus squeezing and contracting to release the menstrual blood, and the contraction of the blood vessels or constriction of the blood vessels as they try and minimize the bleeding from the shedding of the lining. So understanding that, ease your discomfort. I've heard a lot of girls say, I'm not going to take painkillers because it's going to make me infertile. That's so untrue. Ease your discomfort, because sometimes the pain can be so dramatic. You can't walk, you are vomiting, you can't do anything. Take that painkiller. Get back to work. Get back to school. Let's participate meaningfully in our national development. We are going to take part and do our role as women in this national cake. So take those painkillers if you have to. For the vomiting, you can take nausea medication that can be advised either at your pharmacy or at a medical facility, just to curb down and allow you to eat during this period of time. If your bleeding is heavy or your periods are frequent, you don't want to reach a level where you are passing out or feeling dizzy, getting headaches. Take blood booster syrups. Eat foods like spinach, wondwe, calendula. If you have some liver, fresh fish, boost your diet so that your blood level can remain high, and even after the periods, you'll be able to have a good hemoglobin level or a blood level, and you'll be able to be active as usual. Take care, girls. This is one of the main issues, anemia resulting from heavy periods. Let's look after ourselves. Let's talk to each other. Let's share the information. Let's manage our periods. Hygiene. Let's change our pads if we have some, or a clean cloth that we can use with our panties, and change it frequently. If we are using washable, wash the washable pads, dry them out in the sun. Don't hang them in a damp place where they may result in fungal infections or itchiness down there. If you are wearing disposable pads, change them frequently. If you are using tampons, don't wear them for longer than 12 hours. Please take care of yourself, because this is a normal part of life. Let's embrace our womanhood. This is Dr. Mutinta Miuni, gynecologist for Medical Women Association of Zambia. Till tomorrow, take care.
There you have it. The doctor was just giving us tips on what menopause is all about. Like you can see from there that from this week, starting from Monday until today, we have continued looking at that specific topic. I hope you have learned one or two things there. But right about now, we go direct into our money market. We have the United States dollar there buying at 19.29 ngwe and selling at 19.67 ngwe. We have the Great British Pound there buying at 24.58 ngwe and selling at 25.06 ngwe. We have the Euro there buying at 20.95 ngwe and selling at 21.36 ngwe. We have the South African Rand there buying at 1.03 ngwe and selling at 1.05 ngwe. On the selling part, our main focus is on the dollar. It's just like we saw yesterday, only a few cents for it to to reach toward 20 on the selling part. And on the buying part, again, we have seen that it has continued and it's running toward 20 kwacha as well. But anyway, that's our foreign exchange for today, the 23rd of August 2023.
There you have it. So you can see that it is going towards 20 kwacha on the selling part already, and I can only assume that by tomorrow, if nothing is done, it is likely to be at 19 kwacha 17 ngwe. So We just hope that it will go back and slow down. We were at a meeting with the Minister of Finance.
It has graduated. It's an adult now.
Yeah, yeah. It's no longer a teenager.
It's no longer a teenager.
It will be graduating soon. So interesting. The Minister of Finance did give us indicators of where the direction where they are heading and what they're doing to make sure that the economy is stabilized. However, we also saw that we had a representative of the IMF during the meeting yesterday, where they also applauded Zambia for upholding to the dictates that they have made in terms of making sure that Zambia implements the IMF program. They say that Zambia is on course and has done fine this far, and they are optimistic that Zambia will continue to perform better. But however, there was also a concern from the likes of Bob Sichinga, former Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry, during the meeting, who indicated that the IMF was part of the problem that countries like Zambia continue to face, in that they'll stick around for 5 years implementing this program, and off they go. What happens there becomes none of their business. And sometimes when you have a reckless administration, things tend to worsen, and soon you start requiring the support of the IMF. Now, so it thought that there is a need also for the IMF to be listening to locally driven solutions, as opposed to imposing things that are undermining the growth of the local economy. He also did mention the fact that Zambia needs to industrialize and make sure that it desists from exporting raw copper, because that is detrimental to the country's national development. Only if we add more values to our minerals can we realize more prospects out of it. So the concern from Mr. Sichinga was that Zambia should avoid this tendency of trying to increase the tonnage of copper production, for instance, which is being scaled to 3 million metric tons by in the next 10 years. He said that is not going to be feasible, provided we're not doing anything. And even if it is feasible, we were not going to realize more money as a country. And the Minister of Finance and National Planning, Dr. Stumbeko Musokotwane, also did come in to justify that actually other countries like Chile have increased their tonnage and they are getting more from their minerals, and others are from like Democratic Republic of Congo are also increased their tonnage and they have more money and they are able to buy commodities from Zambia. But also Miriam Kaimba, I had a concern because I don't think it is worth comparing Zambia to the DRC, because we know that the DRC has been mad in violence. Violence yes, is never ending in that country, yeah. And wow, they are continuing to mine. But however, to what extent has their minerals benefited that economy is another question, just like Zambia. But if you look at countries like Chile, which he was comparing Zambia to, Chile is more advanced, and look at what they have used their monies with their minerals. And Chile also is not privatizing everything. They are also making sure that they get more out of their minerals. So if we're going to also be able to make more money out of that, even if we want to increase the tonnage to 3 million metric tons of copper in the next 10 years, it means that we need to do more than just increasing the tonnage. Are these mines paying the right taxes? Because we saw yesterday that ZRA was actually testifying that tax compliance is also poor in the mining sector. Only a few mines are paying the right taxes. But if only a few mines are paying the right taxes, then how do you expect to realize more money through this critical sector?
Yeah, actually they did indicate that only 7 mines out of 202,400 are complying in paying taxes.
So that
7
cause for
out
concern.
of all that number.
So that cause for concern. Yeah. You increase the tonnage and you still have the same mines paying the right taxes. Are you going to realize the much needed revenue to grow the economy? Yeah. No, you continue to run an economy as on a consumptive basis, just enough to sustain operations of this country. But you need to make sure that you have extra, you have surplus to be able to undertake milestone development activities. Miriam Kaimba.
Exactly. Anyway, moving forward, we now go direct into zooming headlines, some of the stories that made headlines yesterday. And just a reminder to our viewers that we have now officially opened our phone lines. You can take part in our discussion this morning, where we are looking at various issues before we usher our guest at 8 hours. What are some of the stories that we saw making headlines yesterday?
Interesting stories that were making the headlines, Miriam, include a story where we had police in Lusaka Tuesday arrested and charged the Socialist Party leader Fred Membe for the offense of acts intended to cause grievous bodily harm, contrary to Section 224 of the Penal Code Act, Chapter 87 of the laws of Zambia. Police spokesperson Ray Amonga says Dr. Fred Membe has further been jointly arrested and charged with Daniel Mumba, aged 44, of Chamboli in Kitwe for 2 counts of assault occasioning actual bodily harm contrary to the laws of Zambia. Let's get the details of this story in the following report.
Barely 2 weeks when Opposition Socialist Party President Dr. Fred Membe spent a night at Woodlands Police Station for the offense of libel and alleged attempt to breach the country's security, Tuesday, 22nd August 2023, Dr. Membe appeared before Ibex Hill Police Station for questioning on allegations of assault occasioning actual bodily harm when he allegedly fired a gun to displace alleged unruly UPND cadres on 8th April 2023 during a by-election campaign in Muchinda Ward in Serenge. He arrived at exactly 9:50 before the police, and his interactions with the media after being blocked, the opposition leader questioned the logic behind his summon. Dr. Membe alleges that the country's democracy space is slowly shrinking.
Mr. Kainde used to come with people to the police station when he was being arrested. They want me to come alone. What Zambia are we trying to create? What Zambia are you trying to create? Where I should come to the police station in secrecy. What are they trying to hide from the Zambian people? Is this the democracy they are talking about? They are Kainde way? This is not the Zambia we fought for. This country is not going to be good for any of us if it's not good for all of us. What's good for the goose is good for the gander.
While the questioning was on, which lasted for over 2 hours, Socialist Party Secretary General Cosmas Msumali alleges that Dr. Membe will be transferred to Serenge as per the plan of the law enforcers. Mr. Msumali wonders why a case that is before the court has been unearthed on the opposition leader.
The person that we have interrogated here and received from him a second statement over one issue. The answer is very simple. You want to make life as difficult as possible for that person. You want to exert high levels of cruelty to this individual. That's what this issue is all about. And we condemn it. We condemn it so severely because this is brutality. This is unacceptable in a democratic country. The police, unfortunately, have their hands tied. They are tied in the sense that these instructions are not coming from just the police command. These are coming from State House. Whatever happens to Fred Membe, all the difficulties that he's going through now, it's not just a police issue. It is HH at work.
Meanwhile, some opposition leaders from the Opposition Patriotic Front were blocked as they attempted to offer solidarity to Dr. Membe.
One day, ababantu mulese ndalukulu, filamu kasama, ba Fred mulefo kubatwala kusele, kukaba accident umwana wabe nakafa chikamibipila. The blood of whoever will be involved in an accident, God forbid.
That picked the leaders, locked them up, and in the night transported them either to Kasama, Chinsali, or Lukulu, or Solwezi. Why doesn't the police in those areas of jurisdictions issue the call-out?
And police spokesperson Ray Hamonga confirmed the detention of the opposition leader.
The facts of the matter are that in the first count, it's alleged that Dr. Fred Membe on the 8th of April 2023, around 14 and 18:45 hours at Four Ways, Kamilamba at Milima area in Serenge district of the Central Province of the Republic of Zambia, with intent to maim, disfigure or disable or do some grievous harm, did shoot at Emmanuel Simposia using a firearm pistol bearing serial number A7988CZ97B, causing him to sustain injuries on the head. The two accused persons have been detained in police custody and will appear in court.
Nelson Zulu for Camnet News, Lusaka.
Thank you for staying with us on the Camnet Breakfast Show. As earlier alluded, Miriam Kaemba and Patrick Soko are your hosts for the Wednesday edition, where we focus on governance policy and politics. However, we are looking at some of the stories that are making the headlines, and we're looking at a story pertaining to the Socialist Party leader, Fred Membe. He has been making the headlines for police arrests, and we continue in this trajectory as the media to cover these issues at police stations, and the same stories are blocked, transported, arrested, denied police bond, eventually given police bond.
Yes, he was here
members
yesterday.
Given solidarity
Yesterday, and you realize that he was detained over a syringe fracas that took place 3 months ago. Yeah, for the same assault occasioning bodily harm. Most of the times, like we heard from that clip, that even, the accused himself, Dr. Fred Membe, has been alleging, is rather alleging that this is a political witch hunt, because he feels that he's being politically prosecuted by the current administration. But anyway, we are yet to see if the matter is taken to court, what evidence will be coming out from those from that particular case at the moment. And quite a sad situation, because we saw yesterday that a lot of opposition political leaders, or rather members, raised concern. Among them is the presidential aspirant, Dr. Tishimba Kambuli, who expressed concern that this norm, or rather system of police transferring suspect from one police station to another, one day you find that the child of someone, God forbid, but is involved in an accident, you find, you get yourself in more issues than before. Basically, trust me, I also do not see it convenient, because most of the times you are talking about using a lot of resources to transport a suspect from one destination to another. And again, Patrick, what has been the concern is that most of the times when we have certain cases that are happening within the locality, in our community, you call for the presence of the police. Most of the times we're told there's no vehicle, there's no what. So you, as a victim, or rather a complainant, you have to source for all those funds. But when it comes to such issues, most of the times we see, these politicians being transferred from outside the locality, the district. So it raises concern again in the minds of the public on how these systems are applied, because most of the times you say, "Kuri dead body kuno 5 hours." The body is not picked. Could
because
be
there is no transport.
Exactly. And sometimes you even call, there are thieves here, we are being attacked. But
when there's an opposition political party leader,
it's quick.
35 vehicles escorting that individual.
So these are some of the things that we have to begin to question on how these things are being applied on.
That's a good, very valid perspective, Miriam, because you are right, because we go into these communities to make sure that we cover these stories. People tell us they haven't been able to come because they're saying there's no transport.
There's no transport.
So they're waiting for transport to come and pick up this dead body. But when it comes to these opposition political party leaders, you discover that they have transport to even take them as far as Chinsari. And is it necessary? I'm like, what's happening? What about summoning this person to Chinsari to go there? I think they can even travel on their own.
They can even travel on their own, as opposed to you using, the government vehicle to transport.
Yes, so that the police that side can handle the case, as opposed to actually moving from the Lusaka to that far. How much fuel are we consuming?
Exactly.
And anyway.
And even the officers who are, accompanying the suspect, how much money you're giving them for allowances. So now, the public, other concern is that the same concentration and efforts that are being made to ensure every time we see politicians, being camped on by the police, being arrested, it should also apply in the community when the police are being caught. If a fracas happened, a certain, case is transpired. This is the same. I think the effort and agency that should be put. We shouldn't only see this only on the politician. This is my concern, because imagine, Soko, you're being attacked, you call for the presence of the police. What you're told is that we do not have transport, we can't come there. And sometimes you have a pressing issue, they will tell you, the complainant, to look for money, to book for a transport for them so that they can come where you are.
That's what happens. So if we have to be like serious as this country.
I remember when you lost your phone. You remember you were told, no,
come here,
give us transport money to follow us.
That police officer at embassy police.
Are you supposed to do that?
But when it is other things that involves, they'll be in hasty.
Yes.
We see people, for example, at let's say you go to in Mrs. compound.
Yes.
There are these gangs. They call that junkies. They'll be attacking people in this community. By the time people call the police, by the time the police will be coming, it's 2 days after.
2 days after, yes.
After the fracas is gone, people are attacked and everything. So I think we really need to pay attention to these issues and make sure that we attach the same agency we attach to attending to political leaders.
Victims of violence in 2021. You remember in Mrs. Compound. But
there was no presence of police at all.
Yes. So these are the concerns that we have continued to see. Anyway, moving forward, we did see another story where Patriots for Economic Progress leader Sean Tembo told the Constitutional Court that Republican President Hakainde Hichilema has so far spent approximately 2.8 billion kwacha on his foreign trips that have so far not borne any tangible benefits to the nation. Let's get to play that story. Following repeated claims in the public that Republican President Hakainde Hichilema travels too frequently, Patriots for Economic Progress leader Sean Tembo has decided to take the matter a bit further by rushing to the Constitutional Court on the basis that the said foreign trips amount to imprudent and irresponsible use of public resources. Mr. Tembo has indicated in his petition that the increased presidential international trips come at a huge cost to the national treasure. He wants the Constitutional Court to declare that the frequent trips are illegal, unconstitutional, as billions of taxpayers' money is used, and so far the said trips have not in any way produced any tangible benefit to the nation. His argument is that Article 198D has read together with Article 198B3 and 173(1)B of the Constitution provides that public resources must be used prudently, efficiently, effective, and in a responsible manner, premised on the realization that Zambia is a developing nation with multiple socio-economic needs for the people. He has submitted that his estimated average cost per single presidential foreign trip is 57 million kwacha, taking into account the cost of transportation, lodging, meals, and allowances. He claims the president has so far spent approximately 2.8 billion kwacha on his foreign trips. Mr. Tembo tells court that despite criticizing his foreign trips, the head of state has neglected and ignored his Zambian's foreign mission abroad to take basic functions such as marketing the country in foreign territories. In his petition, the opposition leader cited the Attorney General as the respondent. Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News. That's a concern that Patriots for Economic Progress leader Sean Tembo has filed his petition before the Constitutional Court challenging the increased foreign or rather presidential trips being undertaken by the Republican President, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema. Some of the things that Mr. Tembo did jot down in his petition is that the president has neglected rather to use or rather utilize his missions abroad, like the ambassadors, to represent the countries in foreign territories. Yeah. These
are quite interesting views, and we are coming against the background that President Hakainde Hichilema also did criticize the the ruling PF back then while he was on opposition of having undertaken too many trips and while the country was experiencing social and economic challenges. I don't think there's any difference at the moment because equally Zambia is experiencing social and economic challenges. Among top is the issue of the escalated cost of living, which is beyond the reach of many vulnerable citizens, and as seen from the country's staple food mini meal, which is also fetching high beyond many vulnerable households. So if you have a look at that petition from Mr. Tembo, let's see where it is going, that or if at all he has anything, because I remember he's also challenged the president over another issue pertaining to him relocating to State House.
Yes.
So he's moved on. But anyway, it is a democracy, and accountability and transparency are among those issues. And one of the requirements of a democracy is the provision of checks and balances, and they are just doing that as the opposition political party leaders. They are within their rights to question everything. Their rights,
and also Soko coming from the background, like you alluded, that we're coming from the background where the current president also, when he was in opposition, he used to criticize the former president, you know, over his continued, or rather his increased foreign trips. And this is the same that, you know, we have seen this debate that has continued. You know, a lot of people have continued condemning the president a lot over on his increased foreign trips. And now we have seen Mr. Sean Tembo saying these foreign trips have not even, you know, been produced any tangible benefits for the nation to see at the end of the day.
Yeah, you're right. And so he's putting forth that argument. And we have seen that there has also been justification from the part of the government that these trips are realizing into investment pledges, and they are saying that some of the investments are being actualized. But also, I think as a nation, we have to quantify to say, the trips against the pledges or the actual investments, how much have come into fruition, and how much has been spent. Is it worth the trips? So we can do that comparison. But I ever think in probably next week we have to sort the participation on the Camnet Breakfast Show interview of institutions like the Zambia Development Agency, so that they can explain to us how over these trips that Mr. Tembo suspects that they have gobbled about 2.2 billion.
Yes, 2.8 billion.
2.8 billion kwacha. How what are the dividends, or let's say how many investment pledges have we recorded, and how many investments have come into fruition? And also, earlier on, I was talking about the former commerce minister, Honorable Bob Sichinga. He was putting forth an argument, Miriam, to say, why does government always emphasize on foreign direct investments as opposed to finding a locally driven solution? But priority is always on foreign direct investment.
Yes.
So it was saying that Zambians, only Zambians can develop Zambia.
Exactly,
and,
because we have the interest.
Yeah, and if Zambians get highly involved in the local economy, progress may be attained, especially pertaining to how we are trying to recover this economy. But however, he is concerned that we seem to prioritize what we call foreign direct investment as opposed to locally driven initiatives.
I think it's just a matter of trust. You know, most of the times we have been told that as Zambians we lack the capacity. Most of the times these are the statements that we have continued to see circulating in the public, that, you know, you engage a Zambian, you know, run this particular firm or mine, they don't have the capacity. We have been told on several occasions that we do not have the capacity. So basically, in my opinion, I think this is a time that we need to have a shift of mindset change. You can't tell me the CBU, the UNZA is not producing people who can, you know, manage these institutions. People are coming with brains, you know, they are able to develop this country. Only if we have a little faith and we give them the resources, they are able to develop this country.
If anything, it's just a question of technology.
Yes.
How do we acquire this technology? We raise resources and acquire this technology. Things have already evolved. These initiatives have already been developed, Miriam. Whatever machines are being used in the mining sector, they are already there. We don't have to start making a machine. What we have to do is buy a machine. If it is capacity that is lacking, to say, how can we do that? We can send our engineers to say, you go and learn on how to run this particular sector. We build capacity, we pay for this person, and the other countries can even provide that those scholarships for free.
For free, yes.
That service can be provided for free, and you just get the capacity. And when that person comes, Miriam, they will work.
They'll work, definitely. I agree with you, because most of the times, you'll find that you send workers from this government institution on workshops. Don't send them for workshops, send them for trainings, so that when they come back, they come with the knowledge to run things
have evolved. And in fact, if you have your research, well, you find that these processes are well documented. We have a lot of books, we have a lot of videos on YouTube, a lot of explanation on technology. So these things can easily be done now. So we don't have to say no until Miriam Kayamba from the US comes and run this sector. That's the only way they can make money. No. It's a mindset we have to change. Exactly. If we are to develop, we have to start believing in ourselves. We shouldn't be our enemies of ourselves. We should be able to do things ourselves and make sure that if we are going to have a lot of Zambian millionaires, I think that will be the first step towards us developing. But if we are going to have a small concentration of small people having money while the rest are poor, then how do you expect to develop? Because only when you have more people developed that you can have better communities. It's just at community level, Miriam Kayamba. If we have let's say 1,000 people in a community that are well off, it means that many families in that community are doing fine, that community is able to contribute effectively to the country's development, because this community, if it is full of people who are poor, it means that more people who are poor will be depending on government to continue increasing the social cash transfer allocation, because most of the households there are poor, so they need to be cushioned, and that's money government has to spend on a consumptive perspective under the social sectors.
And this is a burden again to government.
To government.
Exactly.
So it becomes a burden. So instead of that money going towards developmental activities, it's just to go to support this vulnerable community that is more prone to these problems. But if we start thinking to say, no, as Chawama, what is our contribution to the country's GDP? Let's start interrogating it at that level. We should understand how much is Chawama contributing to the national cake. And if it is contributing more, how can we enhance that? If it is not contributing at all, what can we do to enhance it?
Exactly.
Like in the case of Chawama, I think there are a few industries that are manufacturing things. That's if there is any.
And
so what are we contributing there?
Yeah. Talking about industries, Patrick Soko, not to cut you short, but this is what I think, that each and every community should have at least 3 or 2 industries.
We should have something that we're producing.
Something that we're producing. Trust me, if we did that, if we were to move in that trajectory, 5 years from now, Zambia will be far much better. If
you go to Kanyama again, how have we made use of the business community? Kanyama and Matero should be among the constituencies of Lusaka that are highly industrialized.
Yes.
They have a lot of industries.
Yes.
So if you look, how much are these industries contributing as social corporate responsibility in these communities? We have to start interrogating those things, because Kanyama literally should be the most developed constituency in this country. But to the contrary, it is among the poorest.
The poorest,
so are these industries serving their purpose? Well, we are also focusing our energies towards the mining sectors. There are also other industries that are producing things. Let's say biscuits and other things. They are produced in Kanyama, Miriam Kayamba. But to what extent are those industries contributing to the community of Kanyama, so that this community should be well off? Let's also interrogate those issues. How can we make sure that we create a balance where these industries are able to feed into the developmental system of this country, and also so that people feel part and parcel of these industries? So I see that there's also a disconnect between industries in terms of understanding the social responsibility of these communities. So we have to enhance that at national level, and eventually we see ourselves making progress.
Exactly. And we're moving forward. What are some of the stories that we had apart from those 2 that we played?
Interesting enough, we have to look at these other two stories. But before we do that, we want to get interacting with you, our dear viewers, especially those of you watching us on our Facebook channel. Remember that we always stream the Camnet Breakfast Show on YouTube as well as our Facebook, and we have continued to receive a good viewership from those of you who are constantly following the Breakfast Show every morning, and we want to hear where you are watching us from. Tell us where you are watching us from, and also leave us a message, and let's get interacting on the Camnet Breakfast Show. We want to hear from you from the stories that we have looked at this far, and some of the stories we'll be looking at, and later on, as Miriam Kaimba did state that we'll be joined by our guest from the Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprises to discuss issues pertaining to the ministry. Do you think the ministry is living up to its expectation? Okay, how has the ministry undertaken a testimony on this program? Well, we want you to come through on the program and give us those calls so that we can get interacting on the Camnet Breakfast Show. And we want to hear from the voice of Monari. We want to hear from the representative of Livingstone, Mr. Mukuma, who continues to give us his perspective, Miriam Kaimba, pertaining to how what we discuss on the Breakfast Show. Remember that Camnet TV is the channel of choice, that we are everywhere in this country, and especially on GoTV and DSTV. So wherever you may be in Kitwe, Copper Belt, in Eastern Province, Southern Province, Western Province, Muchinga, Central Province, Northwestern Province, we want to hear from you. Wapula Province, we want to get interacting with you. And always remember that you can also link us to some of the stories that are happening in your communities by sending us those voice notes, as well as videos on the numbers that we put on your screen, that as a WhatsApp, and we'll be able to track the stories and follow up with the relevant authorities. So now, right about now, let's have a look at this story where a social media vlogger, Simon Chitambala, has lamented the continued insistence of suspected United Party for National Development UPND cadres to take over the alley behind Simon Mwewa Lane. Speaking in an interview with Camnet News, Mr. Chitambala has described the situation as unfortunate as it is taking place under the eye of authorities. And let's have another story where Citizens First Party President Hari Kalaba has challenged the President Hakainde Hichilema to come out in the open and condemn the harassment of his predecessor Edgar Lungu in Eastern Province if he really means what he says. Mr. Kalaba says that President Hichilema-led UPND does not respect Mr. Lungu. They say at least saying that they should at least respect traditional ceremonies. So let's have a look at these two stories back to back, and I will be back on the Camnet Breakfast Show.
Suspected political party cadres have continued to intimidate businesses operating along the Simon Mwewa Lane to coerce them to surrender the alley behind Simpson Building in Lusaka. Last month, police had to move in to stop a fracas which ensued after an attempt by the cadres to allocate trading places to displaced vendors in the alley turned violent. After weeks of quietness, the cadres have resurfaced, threatening violence to anyone coming in their way. One of the many opposers of the cadres, Simpson Building proprietor and vlogger Simon Chitambala, says business operators are being urged to stop using the alley by the suspected non-UPND cadres.
Alleyways in any business, in any city, an alleyway only serves two purposes. Number one is to offload goods. Number two, it's a service point, a service alley to collect garbage. Those are the only two reasons an alley exists. But what's happening now is that these chaps are actually building structures that they do not have permission from Lusaka City Council to build. They don't have permission.
Speaking in an interview with Camnet News, Mr. Chitambala says businessmen in the area are operating in fear as authorities remain mute over the matter.
The cadres are not going to be concerned about collecting garbage. They've even actually told us and many other businesses that from now on, look for somewhere else to throw your garbage. This alleyway has been taken over by us, meaning the cadres. and they've instructed all the business houses look for somewhere else to dispose of your garbage.
However, Kanyama Member of Parliament Monty Chinkuli, when queried over the matter last month, distanced the party from the individuals.
It is something that should not be condoned. That is very sad, actually. And if the party structure, of which I believe is not aware, it's just people who wanted to do whatever.
Regardless, the persistence by the suspected cadres to occupy the area leaves such sentiments in question. For Camnet News, Hafias Kaptula, Lusaka.
The UPND must be ashamed of itself, because the very things they were condemning are the very things they are promoting. If our president, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, is saying that he doesn't approve the behavior of cadres, why hasn't anybody been arrested? It's because the president doesn't condemn that, because he is the one who's supporting actions like that. The president is so hypocritical that he can send people to go and harass his colleague, the former president. It doesn't matter what he did, even if you don't appreciate what he did. But just to send people to go and harass him is wrong. It is wrong. And if the president has also seen that it is wrong, let him condemn it. Have you heard him condemn it? No. The president is quiet. Why is he quiet? Because he's the one who sent them. We know those politics of Mr. Hakainde Hichilema. He's the one who sent them, and now he behaves quietly. That's not the way things should be. Traditional ceremonies must be respected. Traditional ceremonies must be respected. Even if you didn't like the former president, just respect the ceremonies attending. But even that, they were ready to go and just disrupt that ceremony. It is wrong, and this should never happen again in the history of this country. Let us have order.
Water is life. Each drop counts, and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. RenGlow, your smart irrigation partner.
Interesting, those are the two stories there done by some of our reporters, where we have seen that cadres, the issue of cadres has continued in town despite, the president being vocal and condemning that situation. And we're right about now, we have our reporter Nelson Zulu, who was covering the event that transpired yesterday where at Charleston Police Station, where Dr. Fred Membe was arrested by the police and later released on police bond. And Nelson, you being on the ground, just give us up to speed what exactly happened.
Well, it was quite an interesting case to follow up from my side as a journalist, because there were quite interesting events that were just on the ground. You'd notice as you head towards Memorial Park or Twimpam, part of the road on the other side, as well as the other side from Memorial Park, was blocked to ensure that there's no infiltration of the Socialist Party cadres. And it was also full of heavy police presence to ensure that security is tightened. I remember to some extent we were questioned to say, where are our IDs?
Exactly.
Yeah, and our vehicle had to be searched to say, is everyone who is in this vehicle belonging to Camnet TV? And we had such interaction with the police officers, but until we managed to be there. But what was also interesting was the moment we were there, the police officers didn't really like our presence being there. They were against us, the press.
I hear a lot of reporters, among them some from other TV station, were harassed.
Yeah, the issue of harassment, yes, was there to an extent where I think we were even splashed with some water that is itchy at some point. Yeah, in a bid to ensure that we disperse and don't give coverage to what was actually happening on the ground. But to some point, we stood for what we were there for, and we proved a point to say we're here to give information to the Zambian people in terms of what is happening. And then to some extent now, we reached a consensus where we were able to do our job, as well as the police officers were also able to do their job. Yes.
But overall, how was the arrangement in terms of? Do you feel that they did not handle it well? Because I know that there's been a lot of improvement in terms of the relationship between the police and the media, because we are partners. But what was the situation like?
I feel for me they handled it well, but not very well, to an extent where I believe there was supposed to be some sort of identifying us, the media, not being enemies. Because what was the whole essence of splashing itchy water on journalists? And for that matter, you find that these journalists have got equipment that don't need water. What happens if my equipment is damaged because of the splashing of water? Are they going to pay for that? I think for me, that didn't sit well. And then there was a point also, Dr. Membe was arriving at Ibex police post. Everyone wanted to have that shot, but to some extent we were pushed to say, be away from the gate. So for me, I felt that there was some sort of infringement in terms of ensuring that we bring out this information to the people.
When you analyzed, we saw that some of the opposition political leaders that went to offer their solidarity to Dr. Membe at Charleston Police Station yesterday did, and not forget to mention the fact that this was a political witch hunt and stuff like that. When you do your analysis as a reporter who was on the ground, do you think in the term, the part of the police, handling the case, was it done fairly? I want to get your view there.
I think in terms of handling the case, for me it was done fairly in a very peaceful manner, except for the harassment that had occurred with the journalist, and then at a later stage, the atmosphere being leveled. But the issue of fair treatment in terms of how the case was being handled, for me, I would say it's a green tick. Say it was excellent because it was peaceful. We saw a political cadres that found their way using the bush and everything, being told to say, where you are here, you need to be calm. And we also saw police officers organizing themselves in a very clear mood. So in terms of those that were claiming political victimization, I didn't really try to get what the point was, because I think the only point for me that sat well with me was the questioning that came from Dr. Cosmas Nsumali was actually alleging that this case is before the court. Why call it now? But I'm sure the calling of it was due to the fact that maybe they had found some fresh information to the case. So I feel in how it was being handled, it was handled well, except for the harassment and some sort of trying to bar the media from covering the opposition leader and everything. But we saw to some extent, Dr. Membe had to sway from the gate from the police officers, came to the other side just to try and speak to the media, and were able to capture that.
As we excuse you from the screen at this time, what are some of the updates that we're likely to get from this case?
Well, this case, for now, the update is we wait on how it's going to unfold, because we know it should be before the courts now, and the opposition leader was later in the evening released on bond together with his co-accused who's based in Kitwe. So we look forward to how the case is going to be, because time and again the opposition leader has denied the allegations that have been leveled against him. Yes.
I think this is where we have to call it a day. We continue to follow the proceedings there. Thank you, Nelson Zulu, for that update. Well, our dear viewers, you are watching the Camnet Breakfast Show, and just about now we'll take a short break. We'll be back shortly. Keep it on Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Every Monday to Thursday afternoon, join us for the Lunchtime Cafe. We get to bring to you emerging stories making the headlines, midday news, and we remind you of what political leaders and governance actors said back in the days. In forgotten stories, we emphasize to you the importance of eating healthy foods and leading healthy lifestyles on the Nutrition Corner. Get the latest updates in sports and critical interviews. Because we value your contribution to national matters, we accord you an opportunity to share your perspectives during the viewers' reactions. The Camnet TV Lunchtime Cafe is an all-inclusive buffet. Camnet TV, not just another channel. Get For the latest updates in court news, only on Camnet TV. We take you and make you feel part of the court sessions through our in-depth coverage of the adjudication process. Get informed on those who have been arrested, delayed and denied the police bond or bail victims, persons taking plea, court adjournments, verdicts, and those administration issues in the judiciary. Camnet TV is on channel 274 on DSTV, channel 25 on GoTV, and find us on channel 106 on Topstar. You can also follow and give us a like on our social media platforms. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Water is life. Each drop counts and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. Rain Glow, your smart irrigation partner.
Thank you for still staying tuned to the Camnet TV Breakfast Show. Just like we introduced earlier on, that we are looking at this morning promoting SMEs competitiveness in Zambia, and later on we will be joined by the Permanent Secretary from the Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprises. But right about now, let's get direct into looking at one of the story that anyway we are expecting before the courts of law this morning, involving the Egyptians who were arrested in connection with the God scam, who are supposed to appear before the Lusaka High Court this morning, where the court is expected to hear their habeas corpus. They have complained before court that they have continued to remain in detention without being arrested, charged, and they have been denied a police bond, and now they are seeking the court's intervention to order the police that is at Charleston Police Station to release them on police bond. Quite interesting story there. So we hope to see that when the matter comes up today, this morning, before the courts of law, we'll be able, to see some outcomes, coming away from, this particular case. We also did see that the 4 Zambians who were arrested with these Egyptians have also applied for habeas corpus before the courts of law, because they are saying that the offense that they have been charged by the relevant authority is bondable, and they do not see the reason why they should continue to remain in custody despite being charged with those particular offenses.
But in their case, don't you think there could be other fears, considering that they're not people who fixed abode?
Basically, in their habeas corpus that they filed before court, they have indicated that they are persons with fixed abode, not on the Egyptian side, but the Zambians. They have indicated that they are persons with fixed abode and have sureties who are traceable and coming from, these sureties are coming from reputable institutions. But on the side of the foreigners who are arrested in connection with this said alleged God scam, their fear, or rather their concern, is that they do not have any relative in the country, and them being in detention for more than 72 hours, it's a burden to them. They are stating that this is unlawful detention because they have not been charged, they have not been specifically arrested by the police. So these are some of the details that they have indicated in their lawsuit before court. Anyway, we hope to see what the outcome will be this morning.
Yeah, let's have a look at that story.
The Lusaka High Court will tomorrow, Wednesday, the 23rd of August 2023, hear an application for habeas corpus for incarcerated 4 foreign nationals accused of being involved in the ongoing God scam. The 4 applicants, namely Ali Abdul Saif, a resident of Egypt, Cairo; Noha Salaheddin, an Egyptian national; David de la Cruz, a Spanish national; Teonis de Moinge, a Dutch national, have been granted the ex parte summons to hear habeas corpus. The 4 were recently arrested together with businessman Shadrick Kasanda, Jim Belem, Daingamo Oswald, Patrick Kawanu, a pilot, in connection with the alleged gold scam involving $5.7 million United States dollars, which was intercepted by the Drug Enforcement Commission at Camnet International Airport last week Monday. The four have rushed to the High Court seeking to compel the authorities to bring them before the court of law on account that they have been incarcerated for more than 72 hours without being arrested, charged or brought before a court of competent jurisdiction. According to an affidavit filed before court, it states that attempts to have them taken to court have been futile as the Drug Enforcement Commission, through its officers, insists that they remain in police custody. The court documents have further revealed that the four suspects are currently at Charleston Police Station, where they remain detained. The four have submitted before the court that their constitutional right has been breached and will continue to be infringed due to the unlawful detention they have been subjected to. They say they neither have a relation in Zambia nor anyone who can offer them solidarity or provide them with essential necessities during their unlawful detention, hence request for their immediate release. They are now pleading with the court to order for their release after hearing their habeas corpus tomorrow. A writ of habeas corpus is a court document to a person or agents holding someone in custody to deliver the imprisoned individual to the court issuing the order and to show a valid reason for that person's detention. Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News. That is quite an interesting story anyway that we saw last week Monday, making headlines, hitting a lot of different screens where, about 13 people were arrested in connection with the alleged gold scam case, and, about $5.7 million United States dollars was involved and was intercepted by the Drug Enforcement Commission at Camnet International Airport. But anyway, that case will be heard this morning before the Lusaka High Court, where the court is expected to hear their habeas corpus. These foreigners have challenged their continued detention and are now seeking that they be taken to court and be released on police bond. The court is expected to hear their matter at 9:30 this morning. Quite interesting. Anyway, I'm so eager to hear what the outcome will be, trust me. One thing that I was told is that one of the lawyer who is coming from France or something, South Africa, he's in the country to represent them. Yeah.
Interesting. So we'll continue to track that story, Miriam, and we see where it leads us. And it's quite an interesting story. It's an international story.
It is an international story.
We keep track, and it's also determinant of these people with money. They bring complicated lawyers. So we just hope that the prosecution team is also ready, because this has been the problem even in the mining sector. So these mining giants usually come with lawyers that are sophisticated, well-vested lawyers, up to date with technology and everything. So when they are analyzing and they are bringing cases, well, you have to make sure that you have a huge shield to guard whatever they are bringing on the table. Otherwise, it is not easy to handle such cases. Miriam Kaimba, interesting enough, we were looking at that story pertaining to the arrest of Dr. Membe. I think the opposition political party leaders have continued suffering this fate. Do you think this is doing any good to the image of the UPND?
Anyway, what we have heard so far is that the law enforcement agencies are working or operating independently, and every time they are working without the orders of the current administration. These are the things that we have continued to see. But these continued arrest on opposition political leaders has raised also a lot of question, because they feel like this is what we saw in the previous administration, where you take opposition leaders to court. At the end of the day, we do not see any outcome. Why did you alarm the situation in the first place? But this is a case of an assault. It's different from the cases that we have seen, mostly involving proceeds of crime and stuff like that. But this is a case of assault And we are yet to see exactly what, will come out before the courts of law. I wouldn't want to say much, but, we have seen, that the current administration has indicated to us that, anyone that comes in conflict with the law should be dealt with.
Yeah, I think, so does it mean that if you commit a crime, you're a politician, should you be forgiven?
No, you shouldn't. So anyone who comes in conflict with the law should be dealt with. But again,
why is it that when we arrest you, you say political victimization, but when you arrest political figures, it's political victimization? I have questions, me.
These are the questions, because politicians, most of the times, Patrick, you and I know that they will try to seek for sympathy at all times. Most of the time, this is this is how I've analyzed the situation. Most of the times when you find politician, being arrested and stuff like that, haven't you noticed that they gain popularity? Yeah. International popularity, not only locally, but international. So this is one way they try to use this as trying to get popularity. But
so do you suspect that they could be even deliberately getting into this small or provoking the situation?
Basically, in my opinion, sometimes politicians intend to do things that you would question. Most of the times, I remember you have on several times questioned these politicians that sometimes they tend to develop amnesia where at this point they say something else, later on if they're in government they forget. It's obvious, okay? You cannot trust certain things that they do. They surprise us most of the times. But these are the questions that, again, that we need to ask as citizens. At what extent should we start politicizing issues in the country? We have various issues that we need to focus on. For example, building our economy, and not focus on, political small issues, that do not even had any impact to our country. Yeah.
Yeah, it is true. We need to also focus that we give the energy towards working on our economy. And there are some of these things we give prominence to. Anyway, I think
I understand that you would find that there's this heavy presence of police officers. Because politicians, basically these are prominent people and they come with, huge supporters, sometimes would cause commotion and stuff like that. It's different when it comes to an individual.
I think even as an individual, if you have money, I think you can be able to say, can you book buses, come to give me solidarity for court? Or come to give me solidarity to police. You will see Miriam, they will treat you like one.
Like a politician?
Yes, I think, because I know that these people don't wake up on their own and say, we are going to offer solidarity. No. They are organized.
But again, this issue of going to offer solidarity at the end of the day.
Sometimes people don't even know.
Sometimes people don't know
why their leader has been arrested. They don't even know. Others don't even know, because I remember some of this time during campaigns, we're asking to say, what is the symbol of your political party? And people say, I'm Dara, don't tell me about it.
But the fear has been that, when you're being carried and transported, that you need to offer solidarity to your leaders. Yes, it's a good thing, we're not against it, but at what extent can you, do this thing? We saw that
solidarity
in the previous
led to the death of
two people. Exactly.
And one who extracted a specific person from the UPND lost his life. And again, that is another question. Is that person's family being supported by? That's the story I'm directing you to do. Let's have a look at a story onto that road.
Let us look at a story where some road users have raised concern on the state of the Katunda Tete Yoyo Road in Western Province. Wow. The road users tell Camnet News that the current state of the road poses a danger to the travelers. Yoyo Road. Quite an interesting road. Anyway, let's get to play that story and we'll be right back.
Safe road guarantees the timely delivering of goods and services, but for many years the road stretch from Katunda to Tateyoyo in Kauma district has been neglected. And speaking to Camnet News, Roy Manenga appeals to government to expedite works on the damaged road.
But looking at the way it is now, it is very bad. So we just want to appeal to the government and also the council to consider this road so that at least they can work on it. Otherwise, this is very bad. We know as a citizen, looking at the way it is now, it is very bad. It's very
Other road users spoken to laminated that punching of the road is a waste of national resources.
Noluvotezi development kulini kwanu kwa Western Province mutseze development kono kwa ma provinces amikwa kwa babereka ma MP nimani ma councillors CDF nayo abampalezo kuba mwaka mapalezo kufama road amu ikutise kwa mkwakwa lusebe musebeze fa mkwakwa kabuli ki death trap mutu akulaya kwa spatera konji 3 hours onako kwa kazi chokotokoluso abamuisa kwa spatera ko kima potholes mwanzira ma potholes mwanza fakula ayo fita kwa mutu wako nakushira mwanzira kono government yona ayo ibule skuli hakuna mtu yakashira fali pepero. What is the government doing? Can you wake up, Western Province?
Kuyakulusako kuba simbu yoshe tutuna kumwana kayando. Likungulika so banike kuyana kukohozola likawe bana kutuna yalikawe likungulika bene. Tutu mwanangu twatupangira mikwa kwa kumaniwo batune yana likungulya kuba bala kuno.
Futi kama dezi yako mbuyo but at least people atenga ngikuikonza tupangie koche damaki accident kapena ngasire.
Meanwhile, Road Development Agency Western Province Regional Manager Paul Habasembi disclosed that works being done are temporal and further assured the people that major works are expected to commence in 2024.
So the designs for this stretch of the road has actually been completed. Now we are in a phase where we need now to procure a contractor, and the procurement process is expected to commence sometime in the year 2024. So for now, we will continue with maintenance works under the regional office where we do the patching to make the road motorable. And we are hopeful that by the end of this year, we should have also completed the issues to do with the procurement.
The Road Development Act number 12 of 2002 mandates the Road Development Agency RDA to provide the care, maintenance and the construction of public roads in Zambia. Mose Wakavia reporting for Camnet News in Mongo, Western Province.
There you have it, a story pertaining to roads. Roads have been a problem, and with the onset of the rainy season, we are seeing that some of the roads are being worked on, and that's one of the roads in Western Province. And our reporter did file that report, and the RDA also did clarify that they are going to work on that road on a permanent basis. However, the works that are being undertaken are temporary to just avoid, to make it a little bit easy as vehicles use the road in its current state, and we hope that that commitment will be actualized, because the road development is a challenge, and we understand that even if we have an escalated constituency development fund, a CDF, to a tune of 28.3 million kwacha, it has not been able to attend to issues of roads, because roads are quite, they consume quite a lot of money, hence it's not easy to undertake roads. But we are going to hope that the central government will pay attention to these issues pertaining to road infrastructure, because roads are enablers to social and economic development. And just as we come towards the end of our conversation this morning, Miriam Kaimba, what do you have to say about that road?
Well, they should work on it very fast. Well, the residents have been promised that works, because those were just temporary works being done, as major works will commence in 2024. We are talking about 2024, where they were not given the specific date or months in 2024. It can even be December 2024. And we are talking about, going toward the rainy season. Most of the times, the people in that area would want to transport their goods to other districts to sell them. But you know, if the road is bad, it becomes very difficult for them to travel. So these are the concerns, and we are told roads also contribute. You know, infrastructure contributes to the economic development of the country. So if we have bad roads, trust me, it's very hard to do business. Yeah.
There we have to call it a day on the Camnet Breakfast Show, Wednesday edition, governance, policy and politics. This has been Patrick Soko and Miriam Kayemba. Until tomorrow when we come with another interesting episode of the Camnet Breakfast Show, keep it on Camnet TV, not just another channel.